What in tarnation? I meant to do that.
Hello folks, this is Applegeek. Boy, time is flying and we are rapidly approaching the end of this season. This is My Little Pony Season 8, Episode 23. And once again, the hype is crazy from all my friends on this one. So, no spoilers. They've been very good at not dropping hints, clues, or, they're misdirecting me or whatever. But I don't know anything about this episode. So, yeah, expecting good things, though, with all the hype. So, without any further ado, let's give this a watch. Episode 23, starting now.
I can't believe you two are going on a friendship quest. This is amazing!
What?
What do you mean, Twilight?
Applejack and Fluttershy again?
Together before.
Exactly! This is the first time the map has teamed up the same ponies for a second quest.
This is true!
It is special.
Must be because we're extra good at solving friendship problems.
I hope so, because it looks like this one might be a little tricky. You're going to the Peaks of Peril. The Peaks of...
Peaks of Peril?
Ah, it's just a name. It doesn't mean anything.
Like how clouds deals in the clouds, and the Crystal Empire's made of crystal?
Fair point. So,
yes,
what can he
very
tell
good
us
point.
about the place, Twilight?
Only what Rockhoof told me. Back in his day, no pony knew much about the Peaks of Peril, except for the legend on this ancient shield. It says a group called the Kirin used to live there, known for their kindness and truth-speaking.
Now we know why the map called us.
Unfortunately, other creatures also live there. The Neric, fearsome beasts of pure fire.
Oh!
You should go instead of me, Twilight.
Map called you!
Sorry, Fluttershy. Flanks don't lie.
I'm sure the two of us will get that friendship problem
all right.
solved no matter what kind of creature has it.
Those faces were priceless right there. Oh, okay. I was losing hope. I was really losing hope that we were going to have a good AJ and Fluttershy episode this season, or like episode for either of them. But boom, 2 in 1, two for the price of one. Oh, and right away, Rockhoof's knowledge of history is proving helpful, and we potentially have some new creatures that we're going to be introduced to here. Oh, this is going to be good. Okay. Oh, literally the end of the line. Wow. Sounds of silence?
Going out as far as we are.
I have no idea.
Something we don't.
Now, Fluttershy, I've told you a dozen times. There's nothing to be scared.
I'm sorry.
Who is...
You really startled us.
Oh, it's just that I'm not used to seeing any pony taking the train to the end of the line. The final destination. The last stop.
Final Destination. Okay. I've seen some of those movies.
But uncharted terrain and wild beasts out that way.
This is unnecessarily dramatic. You need to get out more there, buddy.
Well, maybe there's a little something to be scared of.
Man, that guy's laying in this on thick. Okay, did she leave Fluttershy behind? Oh.
Those must be the Peaks of Peril. Whew. Tough going, huh, Fluttershy?
And
Fluttershy?
yeah, where did she go?
Oh.
Back all the way. Aww. They say, what's with the flower? Aww.
There. That should be enough flowers to keep your tree cozy.
Aww.
Fluttershy? What
Focus.
are you doing? This is no time for we're visiting varmints. We're on a friendship quest.
Hey now, varmints. That's
Actually,
Come on! We're burning daylight.
I know, but what I found out is that
Now we gotta get up that peak.
she's gathering intel from the
Roll
animals.
elbow grease. We can make it up half.
Can you please listen to me?
Yes!
Trying to say is
Yes!
the squirrel told me a
Oh
shortcut
my
to
yes.
take to the Kirin village.
Way to be aggressive, Fluttershy.
Oh. Sorry, Fluttershy. I suppose I got a little too caught up in the adventure.
That's all right.
A little
If you
stubborn.
hadn't come back to get me, I probably would have talked to the squirrels all day.
Whoa.
I hope that's not an Eric.
Okay, what are we gonna find here? What
Show yourself!
what are... Oh! He's the Kirin?
Well, hi. I'm Applejack.
Sort of
and this here's
pony
Fluttershy.
like. And we are not amused.
If you have any friendship problems, we're here to help.
Do they speak?
Quiet bunch, ain't they? We're from Equestria, and we're plumb tickled to meet y'all. So, what are
Sounds
your
of
names?
silence. Oh, okay.
Applejack, Fluttershy. Remember?
They have ears,
understand
you know.
us.
Do you understand?
That's
Polish?
not going to help if they actually. Oh, okay.
Oh, but you don't speak?
No.
Don't or won't.
Will you excuse us for a moment? You have to ask yes or no questions, or they won't answer.
Like talking to Angel Bunny?
Not exactly. I can always tell what Angel is feeling, but these Kirin don't show anything.
Well, how are we gonna solve a friendship problem if none of them will tell us what it is?
Observe. Let's ask if you can hang out for a while and see what's happening.
These Kirin are quieter than an apple blossom on snowfall. Still, there's gotta be some way to make them speak.
Applejack, stop trying to force it!
Beautiful day, ain't it?
Well, come on, that was a yes or no
Knock,
question.
knock. Now you say, who's there? Police! Police who? Police, say something!
Okay.
Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. Achoo!
I don't understand what you're hoping to accomplish with this.
Don't any of y'all talk?
No, apparently not. Eh?
Now we're getting somewhere.
A dark, spooky path that leads into unknown territory?
Tell you what, Sugar Cube, you stay and see if you can get anything out of these here Kirin. I'll go try and find one that talks.
Phew. Be careful. And watch out for Nerix!
Personal space much? I got no idea where this is going right now. Aw. Why?
Phew. Oh, have you seen a Kirin that talks? Any idea where I should look?
Hmm?
Oh, for the love of Celestia! Can't you just say something?
Wait, whoa!
Sorry,
What?
sorry, but that was too good. Oh, you don't know how much I miss jokes.
Wow.
Popularity. Am I pronouncing that right? Some words I haven't said in a while. Hi, I'm Autumn Blaze. You've just arrived, and
Blaze.
perhaps you're tired or hungry or reflective and want to sleep and eat and journal, which you should do, of course. But first, oh, what joy to talk with another creature. It's been so long. You must tell me everything about you. There's so much to say, so much to do. Oh, look at me. I'm going on, and you haven't seen. I mean, have you
Somebody's
seen-
been
Of
alone
course
for
you
too
have. So
long.
just, I will just follow me.
That was something, all right.
You can say that again. So, who are you and what's your story here?
Wow.
Oh!
This is amazing.
Dang!
I think so too. The way the light shimmers off everything, like it all suddenly woke up the moment you saw it, and you realize maybe the water and the mountains and the forest and the rainbow and the stars in the sky are all looking back at you thinking the same thing, that we are a part of the everything. That maybe there's just one thing and we are all it.
Well, that got
I was gonna
deep.
say it's pretty, but yeah.
And this is just the first stop on a journey of amazing things to see, smell, tiptoe through. Oh, I haven't been able to share all of this with any pony in
Tiptoe
forever
through.
since they all took that vow of silence. So
I was wondering if this was about silence.
Process. That deal with.
Whoa there. Vow of silence?
That's why they asked me to leave.
I hope it's not a sore subject, but
I was gonna say, is she trying to fit in or is she cast out?
Quiet in the first place?
It's a long story.
Hey, I got time.
Rather not talk about it?
No.
I understand.
I'd rather sing.
Oh, yes!
La 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 la. The Kirin used to speak and sing. We weren't always quiet. We told stories and funny jokes. Most stand-up was a riot. But then one day a fight broke out and hurtful words were said. Flaring tempers were inflamed. Destruction was spread.
Oh!
Flaming red from head to head, it even burnt our bread. Sorry, I forgot how much I love rhyming. Oh, right. My happy village lay in ruins. Relationships got worse. Spoiler alert, we quickly learned that words could be a curse.
So if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Our leader, the last thing said aloud. Into the stream of silence, we stepped as a crowd. The water cooled emotions, and peace was soon restored. But with no way to speak my thoughts, I got super bored. Seriously, there's only so long that Sudoku can keep you entertained.
Yes, this is true. I enjoy Sudoku puzzles, but they are repetitive.
Sometimes come with worms. No, you can't give up your It's a lesson that the
Yes, those faces, yes.
I was stuck in silent prison with the voices in my head. Till I tripped over my salvation in a helpful flower bed.
Those flowers again.
Clear my pipes, and I became quite chatty. With years and years of stored up words, I drove my village batty. They didn't like my jokes and songs. And
There's something special about those flowers.
The plays I wrote, the speeches spoke, variety reviews, or the story about the Kirin who hid below an opera stage. And he fell in love with this opera singer, and he wore a freaky half-mask thing, and he played the organ a lot. Well, booty, because the singer was in love with another dude, so he took her away on this underground gondola. I mean, who does musical theater? The village leader made
I want to see Autumn Blaze and Pinkie Pie together.
my choice. I could stay and live with them, or I could keep my voice. So I came here but left the couch alone. They're hard to move, with just the view for company until you heard me groove.
Wait. That was levitation magic. Okay.
'Cause rainbows won't light up the sky unless you let it rain, and candles just won't glow until they're burned. No, you can't give up your laughter 'cause you're scared of a little pain. It's a lesson that my village never learned. No matter how hard I schooled them, fear of hurt is still what ruled them. Sometimes you gotta let it rain. Yeah, sometimes you gotta let it rain.
Wow. That's
Can't believe
just about the best
no
song this
pony should
season.
give up feeling their feelings just to keep from getting angry.
That's what I said.
Yes.
You know, when I started talking again.
I bet this here's the problem that Fluttershy and I came to help y'all with.
Really? Who's Fluttershy? Oh, did you name your shadow? Mine's called Silhouette Gloom of the Sundown Lands.
Right. Well, I'm thinking if we just go talk
that's
to
gonna be
the
a thing
other
now.
Kirin, we can get him to welcome you back proper like. Maybe even convince him to take your cure.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. Oh, just one small thing.
Oh,
the antidote
so-
for my
okay.
anecdote, it's gone.
There's no cure left?
I used the last of the false breath flowers to make it, and I
there was
haven't
more-
seen them bloom since.
Back at the
Well,
beginning, where
this would be a
Fluttershy.
friendship quest if it was easy. I'm gonna start by getting your friends to welcome you back.
You know, between you and me, I'm not sure she's gonna convince them. No, but I hope she does.
So now we got the equivalent of sock puppets.
Fluttershy,
She's kind of losing it.
I figured out the friendship problem. Me too. Go ahead. Bet that's a problem the Kirin never have.
No.
Anyhow, we gotta get them all talking again.
Oh, no. We can't ever let that happen.
I thought
She's heard the other side of the
you
story.
Figured out the friendship problem. Was something lost in translation?
Okay, what's the other side?
Kirin are usually peaceful and kind, but when they get mad, they turn into Nyrics. Creatures
Okay.
made of fire and vengeance.
That seemed less scary when it was in a song.
The last time they all argued, they got so angry, they accidentally destroyed their whole village. So the Kirin decided to make sure it would never happen again.
But that's no reason to stop talking.
Yes, it is. Fire is dangerous, especially in a forest like this. Well, think of all the animals it could hurt.
But they're
Not if they
shutting a
don't turn
piece of
into
themselves
fire
off.
breathing Nyric in the first place.
And how can you be sure that won't happen?
There's
And-
gotta be a better way than giving up all your feelings.
Applejack, you're not listening!
Cause you're not talking
And
any
they're
sense.
repeating history.
What are they doing? Maybe they got worried.
Oh no! Oh no!
With each other.
No!
Shucks. We were just having a normal
They're gonna put him through that
civil
stream.
disagreement. Honest.
Where are they taking us?
Oh no! Oh no 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 no!
Silence. If we hit that water, we'll never be able to talk or feel anything ever again.
Oh!
Put them down!
Yeah, there's one. Is that Honor Bliss, or who is, or is that somebody else?
I think I know this one, and she's trying to help.
Yes!
Yeah, I
Yes!
can't have them silence the only friend who will speak to me.
She talks?
Yes.
You have no idea. Fluttershy, meet Autumn Blaze.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, wall of fire. But I thought Nyrics were dangerous when they're angry. How did you know you could control your temper?
I didn't. I guess anger's like other feelings. It's not about having them, it's what you do with them.
And
Yes!
giving up
Yes!
happiness to
Yes!
give away anger is no kind of life.
I never thought of it that way. I can't imagine not being able to talk to my animal friends.
Fern Flare,
And
you used to love to laugh at everything.
This is like
And Rainshine, you
ripping
sung
your
the most
cutie marks
beautiful
out. You're
harmonies.
tearing a
You
piece
miss
of
it?
yourself apart. It's not good.
I know you're worried about fighting, but friends can disagree without causing a ruckus.
Every pony gets mad sometimes. Even Applejack and I argue.
What? When do we ever argue?
Doing it right now!
And about the Kirin being silent. And right now!
Thank you!
We don't always see eye to eye, but we never let that get in the way of our friendship.
And if you're really angry, then take some time away to be a Nyric where it won't hurt any pony.
Yes.
I think they're trying to say something.
Sign language?
Okay, are you hungry?
And now we have
Some
traits.
Trapped in a well? No, baby fish mouth? Something? Anything? Just write it down. This is making me furious. Would you excuse me? I'll be right back.
Yes, yes. You go cool off.
You were saying.
Oh!
Yeah.
You want the cure for the stream of silence.
Thank you.
That's wonderful! Isn't it?
Well, it would be, except
Yeah,
there
she
aren't
knows where
any
it is.
flowers left to make the cure.
Are you sure?
Oh, beyond sure. Believe me, I've had a lot of alone time lately. I searched the entire forest 73.5 times. Although I wonder if that
That's
second half
oddly
makes a
specific.
difference.
I wish she'd told us what kind of flowers she's looking for.
Yeah, little
They're
detail.
called foal's breath.
I've never heard of that.
What's with the symbols on that rock?
Fluttershy, a little help.
Ah,
He says he knows where to find fool's breath.
Well, what are we waiting for? Lead the way.
and right back to that bouquet.
That's what fool's breath looks like?
Autumn Blaze never would have made it past the peaks to search here. I owe you an apology.
Why?
Because if your
Because if she-
kindness hadn't made you stop to help the squirrels,
Yes.
you never would have found this here flower.
Yes.
If your honesty hadn't convinced the Kirin to talk, we wouldn't need to find it.
Guess it's a good thing the map sent both of us, huh?
Aww.
You found them? Where were they? Tell me everything and feel free to add complicated descriptions and comedic tangents. Oh, right. First things first.
Yeah. Those horn designs are really cool. Yes! Yes, 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 yes.
Autumn Blaze, you have given us a gift. The realization that anger is within us, but it is our choice how we let it out. We would very much like it if you came back to live with us. I can't say how much we've missed your beautiful voice.
Oh! Reprise! Wow! 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 I can't tell. Take a. They are. Oh! Allspark animation. Hasbro's been busy rebranding here. Oh, that was just, it's like one of the best endings to an MLP episode this season, at least, if not ever. Like, I'm gonna be rambling. I'll be right back as usual. Stay tuned. All right, so. Applejack and Fluttershy finally got an episode this season. Like I said, I really was kind of starting to lose hope on that. Technically, Applejack was in an episode of note this season back in Non-Compete Clause, but that was kind of a lousy episode just because she and Rainbow Dash made a whole bunch of mistakes and didn't really learn a lesson at the end of it. At least not one that was very clear and straightforward and whatever. So I was hoping for another chance with her, and then Fluttershy I don't think has really been in focus at all very much this season. So yeah, two for the price of one in this episode, and believe me, it was worth the wait. This episode is hands down one of the best ones this season for me for a number of reasons. I mean, it involves the two my two most favorite members of the main six. It's a cutie map mission. It introduced one of the most awesome new characters ever in this show, and one of the most interesting new creature races in show canon. And it had a song, a great song, and songs are very rare this season, so that was fun to hear. And just overall, the story was just very well written and well executed. So yeah, and like before, I've got a lot to say about this one, so here we go. I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as I can. I'm going to start off talking about Applejack. It really seems like it's difficult to write Applejack well in this show for some reason. She definitely has flaws to work with, but it seems like either those flaws get exaggerated beyond reason, or new flaws are invented for her for seemingly no good reason at all, and a lot of the times it just feels like she just plain gets ignored and not used in the show. As a result, it really seems like she hasn't had that much time or much of a chance to shine in her representation of her element of honesty. Thinking back, yes, Honest Apple, fairly recently, that was a really good episode, I thought, but that was an issue of her being too honest and creating a problem rather than actually solving a problem with honesty. The last time I recall Applejack's honesty being directly in focus as the solution to a problem is back in the main attraction at the end of Season 5, in which she reminded Coloratura of who she really was by being honest with her. There could be other examples that I'm not thinking of, but that's the last one that really sticks in my mind. And to this day, I still feel like that's one of Applejack's best episodes in the entire series. Now, this episode gave us one of those rare moments where she very well represented the honesty, or the element of honesty, which she did by showing the Kirin the truth about who they really are. Now, it's not to say she didn't have a few bumps along the way. Applejack is a very strong-willed individual and often sees fit to take the lead in a lot of situations. This isn't difficult to understand why, since she's used to being in charge of things around like Sweet Apple Acres and whatnot. In this case, so it seemed like she made herself the de facto leader of the mission to find and help the Kirin, and she was just determined to charge ahead towards that goal. Along the way, she was so focused on that goal that she failed to keep tabs on Fluttershy, and thus had to retrace her steps to find her. By then, she was likely so frustrated with how much time she'd wasted that she just pushed Fluttershy to go along without stopping to really listen to what she had to say. I don't really think she meant any disrespect towards Fluttershy. She just got kind of too caught up in the whole adventure, which she herself then admitted to Fluttershy, so at least she did apologize for that. That said, not listening to Fluttershy kind of became a bit of a recurring issue for her throughout the episode. Now, I do believe that Applejack was ultimately on the right side of this moral dilemma, but instead of explaining her position clearly to Fluttershy, she just got angry that Fluttershy didn't seem to understand what she was saying. Applejack's strong-willed nature can be a great asset at times, but in this case, her impatience with both the Kirin and Fluttershy got the best of her, resulting in a heated exchange of words, and if not for the help of Autumn Blaze, they would have both been silenced, perhaps permanently. Similar to how Fluttershy has had to learn when to be more aggressive and stand up for herself, Applejack could stand to learn a thing or two about slowing down and more calmly defending her stance with reason and logic rather than just getting frustrated and angry unnecessarily. I do believe her anger was somewhat justified, as it was wrong to leave the Kirin as they were, but allowing that anger to be at the forefront of her argument only escalated the issue further. And basically, Applejack has a bit of a problem with patience in general. When she's on a mission to get something done, she likes to attack it head-on and not waste any time beating around the bush. She's very much the identify the problem, take action, and get results type of person. And in this episode, we saw her impatience wear thin both with Fluttershy and with the Kirin due to their inability to speak. Not initially seeing a clear path to a solution was a bit of a problem for her, or not even so much a clear path to a solution, but just a clear direction in which to even go to try and address the problem. That said, I think she did actually show a very admirable amount of restraint with Autumn Blaze. Now, I know that she thought Autumn Blaze was very different. I mean that in a nice way. But she still took the time to listen to her story despite her very verbose method of storytelling. And you can see she's getting really frustrated when in the musical theater portion of that song and stuff. I also do very much appreciate Applejack staying firm on what she felt was right, and that she was willing to admit her mistakes and apologize to Fluttershy when she realized that she had been in the wrong. Admitting you're wrong about something and offering honest apologies it's a very difficult thing to do at times. And doing so shows that you're truly able to be honest both with yourself and with others. So again, this is one of those times where Applejack's honesty really got a nice moment in the spotlight here. Now, switching gears to Fluttershy. As much as I like her, and she is at present my second most favorite of the main six, it is admittedly difficult to not see her as a bit one-dimensional at times. I mean, to be perfectly honest, a significant portion of the episodes throughout the series that are focused on her have involved her having to either overcome some kind of a fear and be assertive without losing her cool or whatever. In this episode, yes, Fluttershy did exhibit some fear and timidness again, but I would say for good reason. I mean, this is a strange and scary place, and even Applejack was quite jumpy and apprehensive, especially after they bumped into that crazy ticket master pony there at the railroad station. Also, Fluttershy did quite well in standing up to Applejack in order to make herself heard, so I really don't think this is any kind of regression in this case. And really the thing is, her fear wasn't really the issue of focus here. I mean, it's part of her nature, but it didn't really affect her ability to help solve the friendship problem for the Kirin. I mean, she still gets afraid, but she's not going to let that hold her back, and we didn't see that being a problem here. Instead, we got to see that instead of her own fears being the problem she needed to overcome, it was another thing entirely. The real problem for Fluttershy in this case is that she has a bit of a blind spot when it comes to her affection for critters. Of course, this isn't all that much of a surprise, as most people have blind spots when it comes to something that they're very passionate about. But it doesn't seem like this is something that has been actually highlighted very often for Fluttershy specifically. Fluttershy's kindness towards creatures, sorry, I lost my place, is most often represented as an inherent part of her nature, and in many cases is a key factor in their ability to solve a problem, as critters often have information or skills that are needed. One very good example of this is in the Hooffield and McColts, where only after Fluttershy spoke to the critters did they finally understand how the whole conflict actually started, so that they were able to fix it. Likewise, in this episode, this ability allowed them to find the flowers needed for the cure. Other examples include Hurricane Fluttershy, where all of her animal friends supported her while she was training to increase her wing power to help funnel the water up to Cloudsdale, and even in Scaremaster, when Angel Bunny and the other critters that she has taken care of helped her scare the rest of the main six. This has been a very beneficial thing for her in many cases, but it's rare when Fluttershy's affection for critters actually becomes a hindrance instead of a help, and that she becomes blinded to the potential consequences of her actions. There really are only two past exceptions to this that I can recall. There may be more, but these are the two that really stick out, and both were very unique situations. One is all the way back in Season 1, when she took Celestia's Phoenix, Philomena, without any permission to try to heal her, and where that was where she only thought about the well-being of Philomena and not about the consequences of what taking her would be. And the other was in Season 4, when she was being too soft with the Breezies and failed to see that she was actually doing them harm by not forcing them to get back out and continue their journey to their home. Now, it's happened again in this episode. When Fluttershy learned what happened to the Kirin and how they'd accidentally burned down their own forest, she became adamant that they should never be allowed to speak again. She was afraid that they might repeat their past mistakes that could harm all the animals that lived in that forest. While her concern was legitimate, her love for the critters and their well-being acted as a bit of a blinder, and she failed to consider the well-being of the Kirin themselves. She could not see that they were actually hurting in a way, and seemed to be only concerned about protecting the other animals from the potential of the anger-induced fire from the Neric. Now, while I understand the reasons why she was getting angry at Applejack over all of this blind spot resulted in her failing to consider that there might be another option that they hadn't yet considered. And in thinking about why Fluttershy failed to see what looked obvious to us and to Applejack, I would like to highlight what Fluttershy said about the way that she communicates with creatures. She noted that she can always feel what Angel Bunny is saying, which implies that her ability to communicate with critters is more feeling-based than an actual understanding of their language, their chirping or whatever, sounds that the animals make. She also noted that she wasn't really getting any kind of feeling at all from the Kirin, which makes sense due to their emotions having been drastically dampened by the stream of silence. If that's the case, maybe by not being able to sense any feelings from them, she couldn't understand what was so wrong about their current situation and that they were actually hurting themselves by not being able to feel anything. And she was only addressing the feelings of the other creatures that were living in the forest that she could sense the feelings of. So just, not really a pro or con there, just kind of an observation of why she might have been acting the way she was in this case. And I do also have to point out one other little thing. This is definitely a little bit of a nitpick than a real, major problem, but Fluttershy does have a tendency to get easily distracted when she encounters critters there that are in need. We saw this back in the Mean Six briefly when Fluttershy wandered off from the group when she was chasing after a small bird there. And now, again here, when she got distracted by the squirrels back at the, when they first arrived at this place where the Kirin were living. Of course, I understand that if she hadn't done that, they wouldn't have known about the flowers or found their way into at least the easy way into the Kirin village and everything. But it still wasn't right of her to leave Applejack like that without telling her that she needed to stop and help the squirrels. And she even admitted to Applejack later that she might have just ended up talking to the squirrels all day long if Applejack had not come back for her. And again, it wasn't really a bad thing that she stopped to help them. It's just she should have been a little bit more responsible by making Applejack stop and wait for her rather than just letting her go ahead and then have to come backtrack again later. So a little bit of an issue. Very small overall, but it is something that I've started to pick up on a little bit with her. So, but again, going kind of lumping all into that thing where she has a bit of a blind spot when it comes to animals. So now, switching gears again, let's talk about the Kirin. Absolutely amazing race of creatures. They look absolutely fantastic, I gotta say, man. The artists who designed these characters were great. Now, the actual Kirin themselves, they are mythical creatures based on mythology from China and other East Asian cultures, from what I've looked up here. I did read up some stuff from Wikipedia and other places about them. I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but just to note a few things. According to Taoist mythology specifically, the Kirin look fearsome, but only punish the wicked, and there are many accounts where court trials and judgments are based solely on the Kirin's divine ability to know whether the accused is good or evil, and innocent or guilty. And also in Buddhist depictions, they are very peaceful and divine creatures, taking great care to not harm any other living thing, though they can become quite fierce when a pure person is threatened by someone with malicious intent. Overall, they are said to be good omens and symbols of protection, prosperity, success, and longevity. So, overall, good things. What I find most interesting is it said they are said to appear along with the imminent arrival or passing of a sage and illustrious ruler. If that's the case, who is the leader who will be arriving or leaving in this world and why? I don't know if that's remotely relevant in this point, but it is just, one of those little pieces of the mythology that I'm wondering if that's going to tie into this show or not. I also can't help but wonder about the timing and the significance of the sudden appearance of the Kirin in this world. There's a lot going on right now, and knowing that I've long theorized about a potential great evil that will have to be dealt with by Equestria and its allies, this big war thing here, if the Kirin are the type of creatures to attack those with malicious intent in order to defend those who are pure, it seems quite clear that they could actually be a pretty good asset in a conflict with that, pretty good ally with their abilities. Also curious is that the Cutie map, and by extension Harmony herself, as we've now seen, just now sent AJ and Fluttershy to help them right after we saw Harmony reveal herself to the young Six. Is it possible that Harmony knows that the Kirin's assistance will soon be needed in Equestria? So many unanswered questions at this point, and not much time left in the season to get answers. So I don't know if we'll see the Kirin again. If we do, it will most likely be next season, I'm thinking. But I just really hope that we do see them again at some point and that they can be of help to Equestria in some way. For now, though, let's take a look at the actual friendship problem that they were having. So, clearly they lived peacefully with each other for apparently a very long time. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation... when they started getting angry at each other and turned into Neric and began attacking each other and destroying their own homes with fire. Like all beings, they have powerful emotions, and they allowed their emotions to get out of control and unnecessarily escalate their conflicts. It's not wrong to have strong emotions about things. Without emotions, we would all be just very cold-hearted, mechanical beings that have no passion about anything, which would not be a good thing. However, one must be careful to not let raw emotions go unchecked, because they are indeed very dangerous. Strong emotions can drive us to make snap judgments and say and do things that are unwise, and we must balance those emotions with logic and reason to prevent us from hurting ourselves and others. At the beginning of this episode, the depictions of the Kirin and Neric formed sort of a yin-yang type symbol, which makes sense based on the mythology that they come from. They are two sides of the same beings. Either one without the other is incomplete, and the two must balance each other. By getting into arguments with each other and all turning into Neric, they lost their balance, and their dark sides took over and caused them to destroy their own homes. Now, this was bad, but equally bad is the overreaction of using the stream of silence to, as they put it, cool down their emotions. And it doesn't exactly appear that they completely lost all emotion, but all their strong emotions, at least, were dampened to the point where they lost all their passion. There's no longer any strong emotions of any kind. No anger or jealousy, but also no laughter or joy. And with no passion, there was no need for them to speak, because there would be no further meaningful exchange of thoughts and ideas that might conflict with one another. Basically, they were no longer living, rather just merely existing in a meaningless existence. And the basic idea behind the action kind of makes sense. It's like, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But this overreaction actually robbed them of the ability to ever actually say anything nice ever again. And that this is actually eerily similar to what we saw happen in Starlight's village back at the beginning of Season 5, where rather than finding a way to share and enjoy each other's unique talents, they saw them, the potential conflicts as a big problem, and they removed their cutie marks to take their talents away, thus shutting off their talents and reducing themselves to a level of equality in which nobody is special and everybody suffers. So just not exactly the same situation, but again, kind of eerily similar, where you're just ripping a piece of yourself out that you think is bad. Like, no, this is a part of yourself. You have to be... You're incomplete without it, and you need to learn how to deal with that. It's not always easy, but it's part of who you are. You can't just ignore that. And now, just looking at this specifically, this conflict that happened, how did things even get so bad to begin with? Now, obviously, this started with, a disagreement or something which escalated into an argument. And, arguments, or at least disagreements, aren't necessarily that bad of a thing unless they're escalated out of control due to losing control of one's emotions and throwing logic and reason out the window. Not keeping your emotions in check robs you of the ability to speak well and, more importantly, listen well. Everyone involved in an argument wants to be heard, which, of course, is only natural. When there's a disagreement between two parties, both sides want the opportunity to make their case, and they expect the other side to listen and consider what they have to say. What too often happens, though, is that while both sides are more than willing to speak, neither one is actually willing to listen or consider that changing their stance. When one side sees that they aren't being heard, they often just respond by talking louder. This creates a vicious cycle, and soon both sides are just shouting over one another, and neither side is saying anything of significant meaning, and neither side is actually listening to anything being said. Now, the title of this episode is a reference to the song Sounds of Silence, which is a song back from the 1960s by Simon and Garfunkel. The lyrics of that song are, in my opinion, rather cryptic and also wide open to interpretation. But they make reference to people talking without speaking and people hearing without listening, which I think applies very well to this situation. It's very easy to hear what others are saying, but it can be very difficult to actually listen to what's being said. Meaning that you actually consider the value of the words being spoken and allow those words the chance to actually change your mind about something. Speaking words that are worthy of such consideration can be equally difficult when you're all amped up on raw emotions. In this scenario, we saw Applejack and Fluttershy falling into this trap just as the Kirin had. Initially, they disagreed about what was to be done about the Kirin. Applejack wanted to cure them, believing that it was wrong to deny them a part of themselves, and she believed that there was a better way to deal with their strong emotions. Fluttershy feared the worst about the safety of the forest and all the critters who lived there. Applejack failed to address Fluttershy's concern and stood firm on her belief that they needed to help the Kirin restore their voices without really offering any evidence that this time they wouldn't make the same mistakes. Fluttershy rightly felt that Applejack wasn't really listening to her and dug in her own hooves on her stance of protecting the critters. Applejack in turn got angry that Fluttershy wasn't at all considering the well-being of the Kirin and claimed that she just wasn't talking any sense. Neither of them were truly listening to each other and thus were not making any effort to understand the other's position, but instead just kept repeating their own position louder and louder, allowing the meaning of their words to just get lost in the raw emotions that continuously escalated the conflict. If Applejack had listened to Fluttershy's initial concern about the critters, she could have at least acknowledged that she understood that risk, and then calmly pointed out that the Kirin were also hurting in a different way because they had lost a piece of themselves. Likewise, if Fluttershy had listened to Applejack, she could have realized that she was also wrong to not consider the well-being of the Kirin. With both of them in agreement, then they could have focused on finding a real solution. Instead, by allowing their emotions to get out of control, they both became blinded to any type of calm and peaceful solution. Both of them needed to just take a step back, blow off some steam, cool down, and then come back and discuss things when they're more rational. But, of course, before that happened, the Kirin stepped in and tried to drop both of them in the stream of silence. And, I don't think they meant any harm by that. They just thought that they were doing the right thing because they still believed that the vow of silence was the only way to maintain peace. Fortunately, Autumn Blaze saved the day. And yes, Autumn Blaze. I bet you thought I wasn't actually going to talk about her at all on this. Autumn Blaze is one of the most interesting characters ever introduced in this entire show. She is goofy and quirky, and yeah, she's definitely been living alone for way too long. Her home out in the wilderness had many inanimate objects with faces on them, which were likely a reference to Wilson in the Tom Hanks movie Castaway. And I have to admit, naming her Shadow was rather creative. That kind of gave me a little bit of a Peter Pan vibe going on there. If you recall in Peter Pan, his shadow had a mind of its own. And I'm just glad in this case, Autumn Blaze's own shadow didn't move on its own, or I would have many new questions to ask about this world. But yeah, so definitely had some psychological issues going on there from being alone for so long. But anyway, with her extroverted bubbliness and also the way she dealt with the lack of friends by creating these friends from inanimate objects and everything, it reminded me a lot of Pinkie Pie, but she also has a lot of the nerdiness of Twilight kind of mixed in there. The way she wanted Fluttershy and Applejack to describe in extreme detail how they found the flowers for the cure reminded me a lot about how Twilight was demanding that Starlight tell her everything in detail about how she helped Celestia and Luna work through their issues back in A Royal Problem. But Autumn Blaze is also a very deep thinker, and the way that she was describing, the scenery and the things that she was seeing and stuff. It's like she has a way of seeing the world around her in a very special way, and that was so refreshing to see. You know, it's a bit unclear how she's able to actually decide to cure herself. Because all the rest of the Kirin seemed rather apathetic about the way that they were living. But given what we've seen of her, my guess is that her passion for creativity was just so strong that it couldn't be completely quelled by that stream of silence. But whatever the case there, previously she had been unable to convince the other Kirin that they also needed to change back, even if she did have the ability to cure them, which she didn't because somehow she used up all the flowers. And it just seems like they were simply afraid of the same thing that Fluttershy was, namely that letting their anger get out of control again and losing their peacefulness would be, would lead to the same mistakes. It wasn't until Autumn Blaze showed them, and herself actually, that it was possible to control their anger and channel it properly, that they realized that they were missing out big time and they finally wanted to be cured. And of course, none of that would have happened without the help of AJ and Fluttershy. As was noted, without Applejack being honest with them about their need to change, and Fluttershy's kindness to the critters that allowed them to locate the Fool's Breath flower, they never would have solved the problem. Or, at the very least, it would have taken a lot longer. But now that they understand that it's within their power to control their emotions, they can truly live and be friends again. And they know that they have ways of blowing off steam that, whenever necessary, to avoid destroying their homes and their relationships again. So, man, just what a fantastic story. Awesome race of creatures. And just everything about this episode was just pretty much fantastic. I mean, I can always find little things to nitpick at, but this was one of the gems of Season 8. It truly was. And I can't wait to see where we go with this. I hope these Kirin are beneficial to some future point in the plot. If not this season, the next season, hopefully. We'll just have to see. But, yeah. That's really all I got on this one. Amazing episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching this one with me. And I definitely look forward to the next episode, which will be the last episode before the big finale here. So, till then, have a good one.